Attachment is the great fabricator of illusions. Reality can be attained only by someone who is detached. Hi, this is Emerald and welcome to the Diamond Net, and today is the second installment of Q&A Wednesdays, and today I actually had quite a few questions on my channel, and so I'm going to answer some questions from my subscribers. Alright, so the first question comes from Ernest Mostovaj, and I hope I pronounced that right. Does spiritual life transcend our emotional reflexes? Well, I would say that no, because emotional reflexes are just a natural part of being human. But you want to think about it in the sense like you can really understand your emotional reflexes if you do work that's meant to expand your consciousness. So instead of just going about kind of ignorant to what your emotions are actually doing, you can experience them fully. And in that, you can become detached from them. You can start to view them as just another phenomenon in nature. So instead of saying, oh, I'm mad about this and that's a bad thing, it makes me feel so bad and it means I'm a bad person, instead of making it mean anything about you, just understand it as a raw sensation in your body. And so in that way, you just become more aware of emotions, and even emotions like boredom becomes interesting, and anger tells you just so much about yourself. So in that sense, negative emotions, you just don't label them as negative anymore. They are just occurrences. Alright, question number 2 comes from Young at Naruto. And Young at Naruto says, do you think it makes sense to say negative emotions are a result of positive qualities overexpressed? Well, I think the answer to that one is yes and no. So I think that when it comes to negative qualities or negative emotions that come up, there's a positive reason why they're there. So, like, let's say, for example, you have a phobia that pops up, and this is like a really debilitating phobia. You're terrified to leave your home. And of course, that's going to cause you a lot of suffering. However, if you look behind that emotion, there's a positive intention behind it to keep you safe and to keep you happy. Now, it may actually keep you from being happy and keep you from living your life to the fullest. And so you want to watch when positively intentioned emotions or traits work at cross purposes to one another. So I think the key to doing that is just becoming really aware of everything that informs those particular things, and then sort of working toward fixing them by just being really, really aware of them. Like, don't try to brute force, push them down, or anything like that, because they do exist for a positive reason. If you can see the positive reason, it automatically unties a little bit of your attachment to that trait. Alright, the third question today comes from, and I hope I'm pronouncing this one right, Gaute Grom. And Gaute Grom writes, when you say to experience the truth of oneness, I get it on an intellectual level, but I've never experienced a peak experience where I just feel the oneness with my whole body and mind. I've read about people saying that and wondered if you have too. If so, what do you recommend me to do? Alright, so when I say that you have to experience the truth of oneness for yourself, what that means is you have to get really, really present to your awareness of who you are. You see, the ego sort of spins a self-concept, and we begin to attach ourselves to that self-concept really early on in life. But this is a complete fabrication of our ego. What the reality is that we just are. We don't have this particular self-concept, and these things are actually a limitation to us. It makes us see ourselves as delineated from the rest of the world when there's really no barrier there. And so in order to become really, really present with how you actually are, which is actually being connected to the entire world, you have to just get really honest and really, really go into your experiences and say, oh, where is me? Where am I at? And try to find that particular part of you that you identify as I. And once you begin to investigate into that and you can really see the reality you'll see that it's a story. It's not really real. It's just it's something that you fabricated about yourself. Now, this is difficult to do. It requires a lot of consciousness expansion, and so it's going to require a lot of mindfulness, a lot of non-judgment to yourself while you're exploring, and just a detachment from your entire personality that you've created for yourself, your persona. Now, I have had actually 2 of these experiences in my life. However, these experiences for me were artificially induced. Like, I took some herbs to actually get to that state. And I do not recommend doing it that way, because what happened with me back when I was 20 is that I did that and I got to this really profound state where I realized that there was so much more to me beyond what I ever thought, and I began to be able to see how I was deceiving myself and all of my striving for significance, and how I was just constantly suffering under the weight of my illusory self-concept. And so I began to realize these things, but at the same time, after the herbs had worn off, I actually went right back down to low consciousness, only I had like this abstract notion and memory of how it was like to live the truth of oneness. And so when I actually tell people about this truth of oneness, I've experienced it before, but that's only a figment of my imagination. It's actually a memory. And so in some ways, I'm just trying to get back to that point by expanding my own consciousness, because that's what it takes. It takes an expansion of consciousness. It takes a complete chucking out of your entire self-concept, but not in a suppressing way, not like denying that you feel that way, just by being very, very mindful. And if we're mindful, we can see the truth of how reality actually is, and that truth can actually set you free. And that's where that quote comes from: the truth will set you free. All you have to do is to be able to look directly at the illusion and see it for what it is. And so I recommend things like meditation, contemplation. Anything where you're scrutinizing your self-concept is going to get you closer and closer to the truth of oneness. And so I know that, Gaute, that you said that you had been doing meditation for a couple years now. Keep doing that, but just instead of meditating on just the breath, try to incorporate some things where you're doing some real self-inquiry. Think about who is I? Try to find the I, and you'll find that there is no I. Alright, and so that's all I have for you today. Those are my 3 questions. I hope you enjoyed Q&A Wednesday, and make sure that you post your comments and questions below for a chance to be on my next Q&A Wednesday, which will be in 2 weeks. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, keep becoming more you.